Hey guys, what's going on? Blaine back for another Netflix review, and today I'm going to be talking about All My Friends Are Dead. So out of all the movies that I've watched on Netflix this year, this one seems to be the most simple, straightforward one I've watched thus far. It's a Polish horror comedy that shows the bloody aftermath of a New Year's party gone wrong, and it shows these two detectives that are investigating the scene, and then it eventually flashbacks to the actual events that took place the night before. Before those flashbacks start, you kind of get an overall sense of what the vibe is like in this movie through how the detectives blunder throughout the crime scene that they're investigating. They're constantly cracking jokes at the scene, they're flushing clues down the toilet. You can tell just through their interactions in the 5 minutes of the opening that these guys don't really take their jobs all that seriously. And that's generally what this movie is. It's not a movie that's meant to be taken seriously at all. It's a horror comedy through and through, and more emphasis on the comedy sort of things, at least at the beginning. Once it gets past that crime scene, which takes place about the first 5 or 10 minutes or so of the movie, it goes to the night before where it shows these Romeo and Juliet looking characters coming into the party, and then they enter and they see all of these people that are having a good time, drinking alcohol, and from there the movie introduces one character after the next, each with their own unique personalities and backstories that are uncovered bit by bit as the story goes on. For a movie that's supposed to be a horror comedy, I was actually surprised at how much attention to detail was put into all the characters in this film. There's no way to talk about individual scenes in this movie without talking about at least one character in that scene that always does something ridiculous that makes them stand out from the rest. Honestly, there's too many characters for me to get into, but just some of my favorites included a Mormon that ends up being obsessed with sex by the end of the movie. There's a MILF who ends up dating someone who's 15 years younger than her, something in that range. Then there's her son who's at the same party as her, and he's like a photographer who's recovering from a drug addiction, and he's trying to get laid with this hippie chick who's into palm readings and horoscopes, just all sorts of hocus pocus stuff, and she's dating a boyfriend at the same time who's not at all into those things. It's just a passionless relationship. She wants nothing to do with him anymore. And then of course you have the sort of Romeo and Juliet figures that I mentioned at the beginning. They're kind of the central focus, central focus of the story. Even though there's many other characters going around, these two characters who are considered to be the perfect couple, they're the ones that are considered to be the main characters of the story. At least that was my impression when I watched this movie. I think my favorite character in this movie was the pizza guy. He has nothing to do at all with any of the events that happens in the story. He's literally just there to deliver pizza, but he gets shut out of the house because the guy who takes in the pizza obviously doesn't want to pay the pizza guy, so he ends up staying outside, ringing the doorbell, knocking the door constantly. He just wants to get paid and continue on his job, all while his boss is on the walkie-talkie chewing him out. At the same time, there's a family crisis going on in the background, and he constantly has to juggle calls between his boss and his mom, all while his boss is cussing him out on the walkie-talkie and his mom's crying on the phone. I felt so bad for this guy. All he wanted to do was get paid for his damn pizza, and yet all these terrible things are happening to him, and it's totally out of his control. But that's what makes the movie so great, is that there's so many things that happen out of the character's control, and it's funny, but at the same time you feel bad for these characters because you get to know all their individual personalities as the story goes on. Just to see them grow and change over the story, I was impressed at how much detail was put into their personalities. I know I've said that before, but it bears repeating. Also, since it's a horror comedy and not just a comedy, you can expect a lot of violence to happen in this movie, and by the end, the violence really ramps it up. It's not really anything egregious like you'd see in your average slasher movie, but there's definitely a lot of blood to be seen. I didn't really notice anything in the way of guts, but it definitely is not a kid-friendly movie, I'll just say that much. This is very much a filthy, guilty pleasure kind of movie. I think it honestly has more sex and violence than your average slasher movie does, which makes it that much more entertaining. And I know those things aren't necessarily what make a movie good, but whenever you just want to be entertained, as far as this movie is concerned, you can't really go wrong. I will say that I absolutely love the finale to this movie. Obviously, it's what happens that leads to the aftermath that you see at the beginning, so I won't really spoil that area as far as how everyone dies, but just so you know, it is awesome. It is so great. There's all sorts of classic rock music that's playing in the background, and it just all fits the atmosphere awesome. It is just total chaos, and you have to see it. If you enjoy horror movies and comedy movies and you enjoy seeing the two blended together, you gotta check out this movie. Some people might find it difficult to listen to because it's a Polish movie, and I know not everyone is used to hearing the language, but there's all sorts of dub options available if you need that to happen. And honestly, I would rather hear a movie in subtitles anyway, because I would rather hear the actors' genuine emotional reactions to the lines they were reading from their script, as opposed to someone that wasn't actually there performing on set. Anyway, bottom line, All My Friends Are Dead is a fun ride from beginning to end. I highly recommend you check it out. Anyways, guys, that's going to be my review of All My Friends Are Dead. Thanks for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. And as always, stay tuned for the next part, where next time I review the drama film Malcolm and Marie. Bye-bye.